Hi all, what we're going to have a look at today is expanding brackets, or something that you might also know as the distributive law. Now there's two classic situations which you'll normally be doing, and they're the two that I'm going to cover today, and it's just the basics of expanding brackets. But your two situations is where you either have one bracket that you need to expand, or you've got two brackets that you need to expand. Now for the first one, basically, the distributive law is saying that if you have something in brackets, you want to expand it, all you need to do is multiply this coefficient that's at the front by each of the terms that are inside your brackets. So what you need to do is multiply a by the first time b, which gives you ab, and then what you need to do is multiply that a by your c, which gives you ac. Now for the second one with the two brackets, what you need to do, it's a little bit more work, but what you need to do is multiply each of these terms separately by each of these terms. Now it doesn't matter what order you do that in, but if you have a bit of a system going that you're used to, then we'll make sure you don't miss out on any of the combinations or accidentally double up on one as well. So the way that I do it is I always deal with the first term and I multiply it by each of the terms in the second bracket. Then I deal with the second term and each of those as well. So the first one I'll do is a times c, which gives me ac. Then I'll do a times d, which gives me ad. Then I'll do b times c, which gives me bc. And then I'll do b times d, which gives me bd. There's a couple of things that you need to be careful of. One of them is when there are negative signs. So if you notice that there's positive signs over here, and there's all positive signs in between all of our terms as well. And the final thing that you'll need to be careful of is making sure that you simplify once you get to this stage. Sometimes you're going to have some common terms, and you'll be able to simplify it. So let's do a couple of examples. We'll start off easier, and they'll get a little bit tougher as we go. So for the first one, we're just dealing with one bracket. So we just multiply this coefficient by each of these. So first one we do is 3 times x. So 3 times x is going to be positive 3x. And then we're going to multiply 3 by positive 2. So positive 3 times positive 2 is positive 6. Easy. Next one. Example number 2. Same thing, but we have a negative to deal with. So when I have negatives to deal with, you just have to be a little bit careful with the sign. So I'm going to deal with the x first. So 4 multiplied by x gives me positive 4x. And now I'm going to deal with this sign here. So 4, positive 4, times negative 5. I'll do the sign first. So it's a positive times a negative, makes it a negative. And then we do 4 times 5, which is 20. The next one. We've got a fraction as well. And we got a negative out the front. We have a negative in here too, so you've got to be careful. First thing I'm going to do is I just need to multiply negative a half by x. So it's a negative times a positive, which gives me a negative, and a half times x is x over 2. Now I'll deal with the second term. So I'm going to multiply negative half by negative 10. So a negative times a negative is a positive. A half times 10 is 5. And we're all done. Next example. We're going to do some two bracket ones, and we're going to mix up the signs of positives and negatives. So same thing as before, I always deal with this first one. This first term first, multiplied by both of those. So I'm going to do x times x. So positive x times positive x is x squared, not 2x. Easy mistake. Now I'm going to deal with x and the negative 2. So x multiplied by negative 2, it's a positive times a negative, which is a negative. X times 2 is 2x. Now I'll deal with the 3 and multiply by each of these. So I'm going to multiply the 3 by the x. So positive times a positive is a positive. 3 times x is 3x. Now deal with the 3 and the negative 2. So 3 multiplied by negative 2. Positive times a negative is a negative. 3 times 2 is 6. Now this is where you need to be careful about simplifying. Once you get to this stage, more often than not, what you'll notice is that you'll have some common terms. So in this particular question, you can see that these terms, negative 2x and the 3x, they have the same variable and they have the same power. It's the power of 1 and 1, which means that we can combine them. So if we do that, it's going to be x squared, negative 2 plus 3x is positive x. And I've got my take 6 at the end, and then we're done. Next one. Similar situation, but they're all negatives. So we deal with the first one, first term first. So it's going to be 2x times 4x. So it's a positive times a positive, so it's positive. 2 times 4 is 8. X times x is x squared. Now we'll do 2x times negative 1. Positive times negative is a negative. 2x times 1 is just 2x. Now we'll deal with the negative 3. So it's going to be negative 3 times 4. Negative times positive is negative. 3 times 4 is 12. And we'll still get our x as well. Final one, negative 3 times negative 1. So negative times negative is positive. 3 times 1, 3. Again, you need to have a look and see if there's any common terms. So in this case, we've got our negative 2x and negative 12x that are common. They can be joined. So it's going to be 8x squared. Negative 2x take 12 is negative 14x. And we've got this plus 3 guy at the end still as well. And we're all done. Final one is a little bit trickier because I've actually added an extra term in. Now it doesn't matter that there's more than 2 terms in your brackets, it's still the same process. I need to multiply each of these terms by each of them. And this is where your system comes in handy. Now I'm not going to draw the lines because it's going to turn into a bit of a mess, but I'll still follow the same procedure that I was doing before. So it's going to be, I'm going to deal with 3y multiplied by 3x first. So positive times positive is positive, 3 times 3 is 9, y times x is yx. That's one term done. Now we'll multiply this one by the back one. So it's positive times a positive, so it's positive. 3y times 2 gives me 6y. So I've dealt with this first one, don't have to worry about him anymore. Now deal with the middle one. So I'm going to multiply 2x, so positive 2x and positive 3x, so positive times positive is positive, 2 times 3 is 6, x times x, x squared. Now we'll deal with this guy and this guy. So positive times a positive is positive, 2 times 2 is 4, and you still get your x from that guy. Now I can deal with the negative 1 and multiply it by both. So it's going to be negative 1 times 3x, so negative times positive is a negative, 1 times 3x is 3x, and that's done. So over here, negative times positive is negative, negative 1 times 2 is 2. Now what we need to do is have a look and see if there's anything that we can match up. Remember, they have to have the same variables, and the variables have to have the same indexes as well. So this guy here hasn't got any buddies. 6y hasn't got any buddies. 6x squared hasn't either. We can match up these two, so we'll simplify those, and the negative 2 is by itself as well. So if we write it all out, but we simplify this bit, we're going to get 9yx plus 6y plus 6x squared. 4x take 3x is going to be positive x minus 2. And that's all you can do with that one. Well, thanks for listening. Please subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.